See you. Happy Valentine's Day. You know me, always coming in at a time that is sort of late, right? But Valentine's Day, still Valentine's night. And I wanted to make sure I popped in and said a few words because, I love to talk. And I've got, as usual, some interesting information for you. Okay. So last time we talked about twin flames, right? That energy, that unconsciousness that you have, that you really experience unknowingly, like you know somebody, right? Like you knew the person forever. Twin flames. Now, the reason why I got into that was I really wanted for you to understand how you can explain by Carl Jung. That's what I mentioned last time. Carl Jung studying all that anime and animus and the subconscious, unconscious. Sigmund Freud did also, but I found that Carl Jung was just in depth and very detailed because he went through it himself. He actually had some relationships himself where he could actually break down, analyze, and understand exactly what goes on in the unconscious. Okay, so that's deep stuff. So I talked about it last time, so go back and listen to that talk on twin flame. That was the last session that I did. Right now, we're going to do class 33. And I really want to talk about altered states of consciousness. Altered states of consciousness. So last time I talked about how instinctively, unknowingly, you meet your partner, right? Not always. Now I want to talk about how your brain, your neural system, your hormones, your biology, your physiology all work together in order for you to be intimate with your partner. So let's say you don't have your twin flame. Let's say you just meet someone that you're pretty close to and you want to be physically intimate and you want to have a great experience in the bedroom, like my couple right here. You're going to find that there are steps that have to occur. And some of you already know that because you already have that experience. But there are steps that have to occur. And one of them, which has been, coming into the forefront now, this altered state of consciousness. It's been around. I have this study by Rui M. Costa, and he based it on Dr. Swartz, who did it back in the 1994s. But he came and made it more recent. And he's talking about altered states of consciousness. So I want to get into that and discuss with you for you to know that there are so many ways of defining it and experiencing it. But let's see what the research says about it so that we can actually understand it better and see whether you are doing it. And if you're not, you can start getting into it so that you'll know it'll help you have that ultimate big O, that big orgasm, which is what I want you to do. Again, for health reasons and for reasons that will help the relationship long-term and overall. And longevity, so many benefits, right? 2 orgasms a week and you live longer. I say that all the time. You have to have 2 orgasms a week, minimum. Doesn't matter how you're doing it, to live longer. All right? So let's talk about how altered states of consciousness can actually impact your relationship, especially in the bedroom. Okay. Now, of course, this is for consenting adults, and this is also for people that really are in long-term relationships. It's really difficult to do if you're in a short-term relationship because it's really not conducive because you're just not getting to know each other very well. In this, you really want to get to know each other well, and you want to have that relationship where you can sort of improve and get better in terms of not only the big orgasm, but improving intimacy and connection, okay? All right, so happy Valentine. I'm going to now shift over to the study that I have here by Rui M. Costa, Jose Pestana, David Costa, and Mark Whitman, okay? So I'm going to try and enlarge that. Let's see. All right, here we go. So can you see that? I hope you can. This is by, like I said, Rui M. Costa et al. Okay. So the abstract, I'm going to read that for you. Altered states of consciousness lead to profound changes in the sense of self. That means you. When you're intimate, you really don't know who you are. It's like, okay, who am I? You're really having a like quandary. Is this me? It's just you're oblivious. It's like you're sort of there, but you're not there. That is a change from your normal state of consciousness. So when you're normally walking around dum 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 dum, you are really aware. But once you're intimate, there is supposed to be, and if there's not an altered state, we've got to get one. Okay. Again, trusting partners, trusting companions. You don't do this with anybody, any stranger. This is again for consenting adults. Okay. So altered states of consciousness lead to profound changes because you can go from a range from a little bit to a lot, a whole lot, right? And the change is going to be in the sense of self, time, and space. So time is like, oh my gosh, you don't realize that time is going by so quickly, or it goes very slowly. Again, individuals vary, right? Your experiences can vary from time to time. And it doesn't matter. The bottom line is you want a change in the time. You don't want to be aware of the time. You want to be in that moment, right? Time and space. Space, your environment. Your environment is different. You don't really realize you're in your environment. It changes. It suddenly becomes like, I really don't know where I am. Again, very important for you to understand that that is what we're looking for when you're intimate. If you're not getting it, we've got to do something about it. All right. Talk to people like me, talk to people that understand this. Again, therapists, psychologists, go to them and see what could be going on if you're not experiencing it. That's if you want to. If you don't want to, this is not for you, but this is for those that want to experience a deeper meaning, a deeper intimacy with their partners. And the latest information I want to give you is that the altered mental status is becoming the most important, one of the most important things you have to have involved when you're being intimate. All right. So you've got to be altered. So this study assessed how changes were related to sexual responsiveness. So how you're going to respond is because you are altered. So being altered is a biochemical, neurological, physiological change, right? Psychological. It's all going on. Hormonal. These things are going on when you're intimate. And when you're intimate, you will not be the same as when you're normally walking around. So he did study 116 subjects, and he did ask about desire, satisfaction, arousal, and orgasm occurrence. Orgasm occurrence. And let's see. They differentiated vaginal intercourse from non-vaginal intercourse. So his study does show that the vaginal intercourse is more related to the altered mental status. And you can guess that because when you are self-stimulating yourself, masturbating, you are probably not going to be losing as much in terms of consciousness or altered. It's more common with the vaginal. That's what he found out. And he also found out that body awareness, your body is actually what changes the most. So your sensations, it's like, whoa, you're like completely different in what you feel. Time changes, yes. Space, environment changes, yes. But the most profound change is actually your sensation, your body, what you're feeling, what you're imagining. And that is important, again, for the altered mental status to occur. Okay? Sorry, altered state of consciousness to occur. I'm always going to get that altered mental status as a medical word sentence I always say. Okay, so we want body awareness to actually become increased while the environment, which is the space, time, becomes decreased. We don't really want to focus on that. So you've got to be, again, mindful. You've got to be focused. You have to have that attention on that body, on what you're experiencing, so that you can have that change in your consciousness, which is what we want, okay? Satisfaction, desire, and arousal were especially associated with less time awareness in women, Female orgasms during vaginal intercourse were related to greater body awareness and less time awareness, okay? But non-coital, which we said is masturbations, was really not related to the altered state of consciousness. Let's just call it ASC, all right? So the ASC is really what we want. And they actually go about and prove that this does happen, okay? Now, there is a word that they use here, and it's absorption, attentional absorption, strongly related to sexual responsiveness in women and to lesser extent in men. So guys don't need it as much. They do enjoy it, but the guys don't need it. And we're okay with that, but we do. So that means that the guys have to be aware that we need it. And if we're not getting it, then we're not going to have that big O, or less likely. If you do, you're lucky. If you don't, it's because you're not actually enjoying that altered state of consciousness, okay? So my recommendation, of course, would be to communicate with your partner and find out how, and do some deep diving into how you can get this, okay? So he says here, going back to the introduction, okay? Altered states of consciousness induced through meditation, sensory deprivation. Now, sensory deprivation is where some people go into this, I guess it's some sort of, I won't say vacuum, but it's a container, sometimes full of water, where they stay in the dark and they deprive themselves of sensations, almost like they're trying to get into another altered state of consciousness. And they really do that in some of these spas. So we're not really going to focus on that, but he does say that altered states of consciousness can occur through different ways: meditation, sensory deprivation, rhythm-induced trance, right, hypnosis, or under the influence of drugs, right? And they can lead to profound changes in the self, time, and space. Now, states of absorption are altered mental states characterized by an intense attentional focus on sensory or imaginary experiences, which leads to changes in the perception of self, space, and time. So that absorption means that you've got to absorb yourself. You've got to take yourself into yourself and know that you're going to focus on yourself, body, right? Sensations. That's the first thing you want to think of. And just let go of time, let go of where you are, which means you're not thinking of anything else, right? And that absorption is connected to how you get to your altered state of consciousness, okay? So given that sexual arousal is enhanced by focusing on sensory and imaginary sexual stimuli, so you can imagine and just start trying to turn your mind on erotically so that you can get into that state, into the zone. I like to use that word, the zone. Absorption likely plays an important role in sexual responsiveness. So you're going to be more responsive when you actually do that intense focusing on the absorption, which is your body, okay? This view is strengthened by studies related to vivid imagination. So you've got to have a great imagination. And they say that people that have more imagination, people that can let go of themselves, people that can get hypnotized easily, they actually have a better chance of getting that altered state, getting that absorption, and therefore having orgasm. So there's some correlation to that, and this study does confirm that. All right. Hypnotic suggestibility was greater in women who attained orgasm during coitus more easily. All right. Both vividness of imagination and hypnotic suggestibility are characteristics of persons predisposed to absorption, like I said earlier. Okay. Moreover, creative self-forgetfulness. That's another word. Creative self-forgetfulness. You forget yourself creatively. It's just some people can do that easily, right? So you've got to learn how to forget yourself, just to say, you know what, I'm not me right now. I am going to just focus on these energies, these sensations. And then you try and move from yourself into those sensations. And then you actually start to forget yourself if you're able to. If you're not, practice. These things can start That's what people have said. People can actually learn how to do this. And again, if you want to learn how to do that, you have to probably get some help. But the most important thing is to be aware of it, okay? And there is a personality trait that reflects, oops. Let's see what I did. Here we go. There's a personality trait reflecting the tendency for experiencing absorbed states, and it's related to higher sexual desire in women. So that creative self-forgetfulness is some sort of personality trait, okay? So yeah, those are things that happen when you are young and you grow up. So we know that personality trait is more difficult to adopt, but you can still get similar experiences close to it. So just know that, yes, if you have a way of creatively forgetting yourself, you do have that chance of having that ASC, okay? All right. On the next pages, he talks about, more materials and methods, but I want you to see here what he actually, what information he collected, the age, and the women and the men, education, occupation, relationship characteristics, okay? What I really wanted to show you was how intensely did you perceive yourself? So he asked the people that he did work with to tell us, how intensely did you perceive yourself? Do you see that? Okay, so was it you could see yourself pretty well? Was it you could, it was fading, less, almost to zero? Was it getting down to zero where you didn't feel yourself at all? So he wanted you to choose which one did you perceive yourself to have, okay? And so as you can imagine, the less you bodily figured who you were, the chance of going into the ACS is much better, right? You can see that, right? And then if you want to, let's see, think of how intensely did you perceive space, your environment. So that was your body, this is the environment. Same principle. Are you knowing where you are, or is it fading, going completely away where you can barely know where you are? All right, that's what you want to do. All right, when it comes to time, was it not at all or extremely intensive, right? How intensely did you perceive time? Did you perceive time not at all? Was it gone? Or did you extremely experience time was going quickly? All right. Now, generally, they found that extremely fast time was going by. It was intense. It was like, oh my gosh. But it was really not as fast as people thought when they were going through that ACS, right? So that's why he wanted to see whether it was not at all or extreme. And then how fast did time pass for you? Did it pass fast, or did it pass slow? Again, it passed fast when you have ACS and extremely intensive when you are in the ACS, okay? So that is where I wanted to, again, explain that your different experiences should progress as, time goes by in that relationship, okay? So I don't want to go through the results. You can actually look up the study yourself and look at the results and the methodology and stuff. But as you can see, body awareness, space awareness, time, perception of time, speed, satisfaction, desire, arousal, these were all scores. And of course, he did find that a lot of this improved with altered states of consciousness. So that's what I wanted to point out to you, okay? So if you go further down the study, you'll find that he does have an intense discussion where he is trying to explain what his study did show. And I'm just going to say in summary that the women were satisfied when they did have ACS, altered states of consciousness, ASC. But when they did not have it, they really did have a problem getting over that threshold of having that orgasm. So I would like for you to focus on being able to see whether you can get that. Now, on my next talk, I'm going to talk about how we can do that a little bit more. There are some little secrets that I'm going to give you, and then hopefully you'll be able to see that it is possible to move from one situation to another if you need to. And there's so many different little tidbits that you can have that will help you do it quickly. But the most important thing is do some studying, do some work, see whether you can actually practice being mindful, whether you can practice being focused on your sensations in the meantime. And then we'll come back and we'll continue where we left off, okay? All right, guys, have a good night. See you soon. Bye.